Welcome to the deep dive. If you have not subscribed yet, subscribe to this channel. Subscribe to this channel. There's a lot going on here, and you know, I want you to be a part of it. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, leave us a comment, and share the videos, please. Now, give us a like also. Thank you. Um, it's politics, and as I've been writing for many years. And one of the things I learned is that you have to have thick skinned. You have to have thick. You have to be thick skinned. You have to have thick skin. So, you know, people have cursed me out, having taken positions that they don't agree with. But I understand it comes with the territory, so I'm not bothered by it. I'm not bothered by ad hominem attacks at all. But I would just hasten to say, if there's something you have to say, and your point is had harming and attacks is to attack the messenger. How about you? If you disagree, you state your disagreement. How about if you disagree, you try to make an intelligent argument as to why you disagree, rather than it really doesn't look good. It doesn't bode well when you use expletives and you just go off on the it's not a good look. Feel free to disagree. I don't mind when you disagree, but please don't be disagreeable. All right, thank you. Listen, anyway, do what you want to do. The reality is that the 2025-2026 budget debate is on in earnest, and in this edition of the deep dive, as we did for the opposition leader, we are going to feature a little bit, just like we did for the opposition leader. We're going to feature a little bit of the Prime Minister's speech, just a little bit, but that's really not the focus of what I intend to do here in this edition of the deep dive. So I'm going to play for you the Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Andrew Holness.
Speaker, I stand before you today filled with immense pride as we reflect on the extraordinary progress our nation has made. The achievements are not just incremental improvements, they are historic breakthroughs that have placed our beloved nation in the strongest economic position ever since gaining independence. The numbers do not just tell a story of improvement, they tell a story of transformation, of an economy that has overcome decades of instability, uncertainty, and crisis to achieve a level of stability, strength, and resilience that Jamaica has never before experienced. Madam Speaker, the leader of the opposition and the opposition spokesman on finance in their presentation attempted to whitewash their record and suggested that analysis of the country's economic performance does not go back far enough to do justice to their contribution. I do not believe they can complain if we start at independence. There are several generations of young people who do not know our modern economic history. There are generations of middle-aged and older Jamaicans who experienced the history but did not quite understand it or have forgotten about it. Then there are those who were the architects of the destructive past. Some quietly and privately admit shame over their actions, but some still try to justify their actions and absolve themselves of responsibility as they battle for your mind. I don't like to dwell on the past, but I find myself having to correct the problems of the past while at the same time dealing with the current challenges and creating new legacies for the future. We cannot lose the battle for the minds of the people of Jamaica. Otherwise, we are at risk of having the people who made the mistakes of the past repeat them.
I would like that to synopsize this dive tonight, because I don't think anybody could have put it better. I mean, maybe somebody in the PNP could put it better, but I don't know. This is classic Michael Holness, Michael Holness, vintage. Um, but I'll leave that up to you to determine um, about the meat on the bone, the substance of what the Prime Minister had to say. Well, truth be told, I'm not here tonight to talk about the Prime Minister's budget contribution. For those of you, whether you're in the diaspora or you're at home in Jamaica, I'm sure I trust you, you're intelligent people, and you're able to listen and hear the facts. But most of all, you are able to look around you. You are able to look around you, and having listened to the two presentations, make a determination as to whether you think Jamaica is heading backwards or going forward. And that's you got to be the judge. You got to be the judge. You can't leave it up to anybody else to judge for you. Because when it comes to politics, everybody get one vote. And you have to make your vote count. And you have to determine if you are singularly prepared to cast your vote for a government, an administration that is about uh, run with it, is about crash program work and handing out free money to gangsters, about corruption after corruption after corruption. And that is to say, that is not to say there's not corruption in this JLP administration. Not by a long shot. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm talking about the widespread proliferation in the past administration of the PNP, administrations of the PNP, and what they brought to Jamaica for 22 and a half years, 18 and a half unbroken. You have to make that determination. And for those of you who are first time voters, look around you. Look at what our country has developed into in a few short years and make that determination how you're going to vote. I will never tell you how to vote, but you look around you and see the development. For the first time in history since independence, history of our young nation since independence, Jamaica is experiencing its lowest rate of unemployment. We see massive infrastructure. We see massive private sector expansion, massive development in the private and public sectors. These things don't happen by accident. There has to be a plan effectuated in order to get to where we are. We are nowhere close to where we need to get to. You know, I drive on the roads and I see the condition of local roads, and I ask, is there a government? But I also understand that there are roads that are controlled by the national government, and there are roads that are controlled by the parish council. Among all of that is the fact that there is not enough resources and never enough resources. And as the Prime Minister talked about debt servicing in his budget presentation, a huge part of the Jamaican uh, pie, GDP pie, has to be used to service debt, the massive debt that the former PNP administrations placed on the backs of the Jamaican people. That has to be serviced. Those debts has to be serviced. Interest has to be paid on them. That burden has to be dealt with. And those are the decisions made in the past for an administration that just told people to run with it. There is no plan, no security, murders are skyrocketing, no detectives trained. It's crazy. And they told people to just run with it, do whatever they wanted. And for 22 and a half years, Jamaica languished and was set back. So people will have to make a decision whether they want to see just get the candy rush from the many promises Mark Golden made, or they will not continue on the sacrifice, excuse me, to build a better nation, not just for yourselves, but for your children and your grandchildren. Having said that, Mark Golden, in his budget presentation, came out with the same whole tired criminal friendly policies. I was surprised. I really was. And forgive me, I don't have a lot of faith in the PNP. I don't have a lot of faith on the issue of securing the nation. Now, let me be very clear. A government's primary role is to first secure the population, the security of the population. The PNP has made no moves. They've done nothing. What the PNP has primarily done during its long tenure in office was to continue to create a criminal justice system that caters to and is deferential and even reverential to the rights of criminals. When you put your police on the back burner and you even make laws that first consider the criminals and their well-being over the well-being of their victims, it is no wonder that crime escalated from when they took over in the 1980s, where we were having 400 plus murders, to 1,600 plus murders annually. Because those who are predisposed to committing crimes, those who have the proclivity to want to do as they please and not obey any laws, they had a free hand. And I heard the leader of the shadow Minister of National Security, Peter Bunting, I call him Peter Dumb Thing, the other day talked about under their watch, police fatal shooting went down. That's all they're concerned about. They don't care about the vicious criminals getting their just rewards because they didn't build a system. They didn't build courthouses. They didn't hire judges. They didn't hire prosecutors to make sure that that issue of these violent criminals is remediated. They didn't care because, and that is why that segment of the Jamaican population gravitate towards the PNP. In fact, they have convicted criminal, at least one convict in their hierarchy, parading as a man of virtue. Convicted in Jamaica on a felony, ran away to the United States, convicted in the United States and deported. That's the kind of system they encourage. Violence and criminality and disrespect for the rule of law and law enforcement officers. I won't even speak to the law enforcement officers who support them. Stupid is as stupid it does. The same old tired policies that didn't work. The policies that are reverential and deferential to criminals. It's all the same crap wrapped in a flowery paper bag. And as I've said to you, when you don't train any detectives, crime's going to escalate because nobody knows who does anything and there's no investigation going on. And in all fairness, gotta be honest, Prime Minister Andrew Holness arrived at Jamaica House with the very same laissez-faire attitude. And that, I blogged about that for the duration of the period of time, that he needed to wake up because one would have thought that he would have come to the Prime Minister's office with an attitude of, let me fix this because this is a very serious issue. I didn't think he came with that wanting to do that, to fix that, to remediate those problems, until Jovenel Moise, 43rd president of Haiti, was murdered in his home on July 17, 2021. And since that, the Prime Minister had obviously had a come to Jesus moment about the potential danger, not just to the country, not just to the country, not just to our country, Jamaica, but to himself as well and to his family. He started to realize that this crime problem has metastasized for far too long, for far too many years, that the cajoling of criminals, the coddling of criminals that has characterized several PNP administrations over 22 years had to come to a stop. We have a whole generation of people in Jamaica who would much rather look out for the gunmen than for a police officer. And it has nothing to do with the police officers. It has every goddamn thing to do with the criminal coddling PNP and its refusal to stand up to criminals because they want to continue to use poor people for votes. And the people, many of them are, let me just say this stupid, let me just say this straight. A lot of them are too stupid to recognize that when a country and their community is inundated with violent crimes, they are forever stuck in abject poverty. Nobody wins in a crime-ridden society but the people who are benefiting from crime. And as I said, so the Prime Minister, he had his come to Jesus moment, and he had to. He's a young man. I would have thought that he would have come prepared, but he didn't. And I'm going to be very frank, he didn't come prepared. But after the Haitian president was killed, he realized that with the massive influx of flooding of guns into our country from the United States and from Haiti, that nobody was safe, not even him. Not with all the bodyguards, he wasn't. And so we've seen a gradual change in his attitude, gradual change in the way he approaches security forces, gradual change in the way he approaches the police. More respect. And I dare say that with the continued transformation of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, upgrading of equipment, so they're not nowhere where they need to be. The upgrading of the equipment, vehicles, yes. Police have motorcycles and they have cars and they have pickup trucks to get to where they need to get to answer the call of honest, law-abiding Jamaicans and to provide a sense of security in our nation. But I want to talk to you about the complex issue of that women play in the transatlantic network of weapons, drugs, and protection of Jamaica's most dangerous criminals. Women act as lookouts. They warn gangsters of the approach of law enforcement. They pick up and hide weapons of fallen gangsters who engage police in protracted shootouts, thereby contributing to the lie that police are murdering innocent unarmed men. Now, we know, and those of us who want to be honest about it, know that the stories are wide and varied. People who have seen the gangsters and the weapons they have and the amount of ammunition they have. Police have nothing close to what they have, and police have been pinned down at so many occasions in so many communities by marauding gangs with high-powered weapons, with scopes and all sort of paraphernalia. Yeah. And when the police take out these hoodlums, the women pick up the weapons and run and hide the weapons. And then they come out and they demonstrate and say how police killed innocent men. Now, this has been going on in our country for a long time, where the scumbags who live in these communities extort, steal, murder, rape, rob, and commit all kinds of other crimes. They they have this kind of a Robin Hood persona, a three-finger jack persona, where they hand out little baskets of goodies, little bags of goodies to the lazy people in the communities, many of them who don't want to work. And so they become little demigods in the communities. And the people are obligated to go out and demonstrate when any of them are touched by law enforcement. It's a routine. It's a routine. They have to go out and demonstrate and swear that they saw murder committed. And the population that is largely vulnerable and gullible at the same time swallows it up, swallows up all the lies. So it's no surprise when you see these women out in their numbers, yelling and screaming, murder, blue murder. It's all part of an act. They're not crying. They didn't see anything. It's all a lie. It's all a lie. They didn't see anything. And even when the police engage these thugs in shootouts and they walk out with the weapons, long-range weapons, rifles, they still claim it's the police who planted. It's a lie that they have to proliferate. They have to keep saying that. The thugs, the dons tell them to do that. And it has worked. It has worked to a T. Another strategy they have, whenever there are a couple of good police officers in a precinct that are no nonsense, that goes after the gangsters, yeah. They keep making reports, false reports against those officers to have them removed. This strategy has worked for decades in Jamaica because the Jamaican people has been socialized to like gangsters, to like murderers, and in particular, those within the inner city communities. They have been socialized to hate the police, to hate the rule of law, and to love gangsters, to love murderers and thieves and rapists. And even as they demonstrate on behalf of the gangsters, excuse me, many of them have to send their children, their young daughters away from Kingston to other parts of the country to live with relatives and then report them missing to the police, just so that the thugs, the gangsters, the dons don't rape and brutalize them. This is the Jamaica that I policed for 10 years. I know. So we need a paradigm shift away from this hugging up of criminals. We need a paradigm shift away from this belief that criminals are saints that should be handled with white gloves, but the police officers are lying thieves who should not be believed. Who do you call when the gangs turn on you? Who do you call? And as I've said repeatedly, when you start to criticize the police officers, and nobody's above criticism, but when you start to malign and berate the police officers, understand that police officers come from the same pool as your judges, your lawyers, your teachers, your firemen, your nurses, your doctors, everybody. It's the same pool. The farmers. They come from a pool called Jamaica. And just like you have people of not the best character in every other profession, so is it within the police department. But I would challenge you this way. The police department is the only discipline, it's the only discipline in Jamaica that literally purges itself of bad members. No other profession, and I dare you, any of you, to show me of one discipline in Jamaica that purges itself of bad members, except the police. And do not tell me about Indicom, because the police was purging itself of bad members long before Indicom, and doing a damn good job of it, and better than Indicom, of purging itself of bad members. I know. As a former detective, I removed a couple. Yeah? So I know we did the job. We did the work. So we need to get to a point where we reorient our people away from this criminal loving perspective. Everybody have something to say as soon as the word police comes up. Yeah? And that needs to stop. That needs to stop. The constant demonstration every time police take out one of these animals, these murderous animals. This behavior by these women in particular is not accidental. It's a well thought out strategy by the thugs who operate under the guise of area leaders, but are common murderers. Part of that strategy is to heap complaint and productive non-nonsense police officers to have them removed from their precinct. And this strategy has worked to a fault. It has worked. Yeah? And when you have people and agencies like Jamaicans for Justice, that is an accelerant for criminality in our country, we better be mindful that we put our foot on the neck of these criminals, that we put a foot, and this is for the parliament now. The parliament needs to draft stiff penalties for these women and increase the investigative capacity of the Jamaica Constabulary Force. And these women who do not work but sit at home and depend on the blood money from these gangsters, yeah, the system need to take control of these people. Many of these women do not work and they don't want to work. I remember walking the streets as a young beat cop back in the day, and girls would tell me, "Officer, you look nice, but I couldn't be with you because my man have to rob and steal." Yeah. It's a mindset that has been a part of our culture for a long time. Just like, some of the men will tell you they can't work on no job site that they can't steal from. They say, not now go on. Not now go on. And the hustling not up on the site. And as long as the hustling not there, they're not stay there. Because they can't work for us to pay alone. We need to change those mindsets. We need to build a 21st century Jamaica that we can all be proud of. A 21st century Jamaica that we can be proud to leave to our children, and leave them with a set of values that will cause them to maintain and love that little piece of rock that we love so much, and leave it for their children. It's a way to show the rest of the world that we're not just about drinking rum and lascivious behavior and murder music, but that we can govern ourselves, that we can lead with morality and values. Like our video. Give us a like, share the video, and please subscribe to our channel. Thank you. This has been the Deep Dive.